Hey guys, I'm Josh,
I'm Tyler.
and you're watching Kings React, and today we're here with another Black Macedonte movie video. Sorry about that. And this one is about Yasuke, the story of the first and only black samurai. Let's get into it.
Samurai are so damn cool. Whether we're talking about the real deal or samurai from fiction, the finesse they display when they swing that katana is just inspiring. So I'm sure you guys can guess how much I was foaming at the mouth when that Yasuke trailer dropped.
Yeah, for those who don't know, MAPPA, the same studio behind Dorohedoro and Attack on Titan Season 4, is producing an anime about Yasuke, the first African samurai.
And the director and executive producer is the legendary LaShawn Thomas, same guy who created Cannon Busters and worked on shows like Boondocks and Black Dynamite. So today, we're doing something we haven't done since that What is Hip Hop video I dropped years ago. To celebrate the release of what I think is going to become a masterpiece, we're going to get into some real history and give you the story of Yasuke.
And don't worry, it's not like we'll be spoiling the anime for you since that will take place in a fantasy version of Japan.
Plus, knowing some real history on the guy might make the anime even more interesting for you. So without further ado, here's a story of the first African samurai. Play that intro, son.
So before we get into this, we should preface this by saying that the story of Yasuke contains a lot of speculation.
Yeah, records regarding the history of this guy are sparse, so historians have filled in parts of his history with assumptions based on the facts we do have. But to talk about Yasuke, we first have to talk about his boss, one of the most influential people in Japanese history, Oda Nobunaga.
Known as one of the great unifiers of Japan, Oda Nobunaga was born in 1534 during the Sengoku period. This was a time when the country was in constant civil war.
Word, after the collapse of the feudal system under the Muromachi shogunate, warlords all over the country known as daimyo started fighting over control of Japan.
Think of it as a big-ass turf war. People didn't want to share, so hands had to be thrown.
The Oda clan was one of the warring factions during this time, but after the death of their leader, Oda Nobuhide, in 1551, rule of the clan fell under Nobunaga. Now, according to Age of Samurai, a documentary I highly suggest you guys watch on Netflix, Nobunaga was a rowdy-ass dude. He was like that hot-headed punk character from an anime who always got into shit.
Apparently this man was such a savage, the person who was supposed to be his chief counselor committed seppuku instead. This was a ritual suicide where one would cut their own stomach so they could die with their honor intact.
But Nobunaga didn't care, and contrary to what everyone thought, he actually became a very gifted leader and tactician. He trained peasants and other average-ass people in the way of the samurai to bolster his ranks, and he used cunning tactics to defeat all the daimyos who dared to challenge him.
He was also one of the first to bring guns to a sword fight. My man ran across a ship full of muskets and was like, "Oh shit, our neutral game's about to be crazy." So through his conquest, he managed to control multiple territories, including the place that all the daimyo were after, the then capital of Japan, Kyoto.
And through his conquest, he also met his nakama, Tokugawa Ieyasu and Toyotomi Hideyoshi. These two became his closest generals, and together the three of them became known as the great unifiers of Japan. This is where our boy Yasuke comes in.
Not much is known about where he came from. Some historians say he could have been a slave from Mozambique, Nigeria, or Ethiopia.
However, what is known is that he was hired as a bodyguard and valet for the Italian Jesuit missionary Alessandro Valignano.
Valignano, along with his fellow missionaries, traveled around the world with the hopes of spreading Christianity to more people. In the year 1579, they landed in Japan.
But the place was still a violent cesspool of warring factions, so doing their job was mad hard. According to Thomas Lockley, author of African Samurai, The True Story of Yasuke, a legendary black warrior in feudal Japan, jeez, that title's long. Yasuke and the missionaries had to make alliances with local warlords. This is most likely how he learned Japanese and some Japanese martial arts.
Eventually, through his travels in Japan, Yasuke met Nobunaga, and this man Nobunaga was awestruck. First off, you gotta understand, this was the 16th century. Someone black in Japan was not common.
They were so confused by all the melanin that they got him to shower thinking it was all just dirt on his skin. Damn, they really saw this man and said, "Why are you black?"
And the second thing is that this man Yasuke was over 6 feet tall. Now that may not sound so amazing now, but Japanese people on average are short. According to BBC, the average height of a Japanese man in 1900 was 5 feet 2 inches. And back then, the average height was even shorter, meaning Yasuke was dunking on everyone without even jumping.
This was very appealing to Nobunaga, but what really intrigued him was Yasuke's intelligence. At this point, our boy could speak multiple languages, has traveled across a good portion of the world, and was a very good conversationalist. Nobunaga loved talking shit with him because the dude was mad cool. Yasuke would tell him tales about the world and of his life back in Africa, and they shared an interest in no drama, a form of classical Japanese dance drama.
But outside of their friendship, things for Nobunaga were not going too well. At this point, he was living his power fantasy. He had taken over Kyoto and most of central Japan, but there was this one place known as Iga that escaped his touch.
The Iga province was home to what we would call ninjas. They were originally called shinobi, which is a term that has to do with secrecy. These shinobi were a bunch of exiles who formed their own republic within the mountainous regions of Iga years ago. They trained themselves in the art of espionage and survival, and were hired by daimyos to spy on rival daimyos.
Now, Nobunaga already didn't like this, because these ninja were out here governing themselves. How is he going to unify Japan if people are out here trying to be independent and shit?
But what made matters worse was that they infiltrated his lines of communication. He couldn't move the way he wanted to because shinobi were keeping tabs on his men.
So Nobunaga had to get rid of these guys, but he had to do things intelligently. He knew Iga was home to the most legendary shinobi in Japanese history, so he started devising a plan to attack the province in a more calculated way.
But then his son, Oda Nobukatsu, came in and screwed everything up. This dude wanted to conquer the province to prove his worth to his father, so he gathered up his army and got to work.
But the shinobi of Iga foresaw the dumbass plan and retaliated.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Well, there's just this one infographic show video, which infographic show, I definitely recommend you guys watch that. I actually heard about this same story. Like, he was just trying to prove himself, so he went there to try and deal with them. But he was, as you can see, vastly outnumbered. Like, it actually was a really interesting, like, topic. And, you know, his dad had to come in and help him, you know, classic cliche. But, you know, it already happened, so there's nothing we can really do about it now.
By not only defeating Nobukatsu, but also taking over one of Nobunaga's castles. So obviously, this pissed Nobunaga off. He went to his boy Yasuke and was like, "Listen, bro, my son is out here fucking up. Can you help me jump these shinobi right quick?"
Yasuke told his boy he's down, and together, with an army of over 40,000, they raided and completely destroyed the province. And we're talking mass destruction here. Nobunaga and his men decimated this place and killed everyone they could find.
This only added to Yasuke's fame. First you tell people a foreigner is cool with Nobunaga, now he's a freaking samurai? Back then, a foreign samurai was unheard of, so people were losing it.
And the dude was also pretty damn good at what he did. Nobunaga praised his strength, saying that he had the power of 10 men. But unfortunately, Yasuke's and Nobunaga's friendship came to an abrupt end in 1582.
Akechi Matsuhide, one of Nobunaga's own vassals, betrayed him and raided Kyoto with a small army.
The Lord is not prepared for any of this, so he easily got overwhelmed. But Nobunaga didn't want to give his former ally the satisfaction of killing him, so he committed seppuku instead. It's said that before his suicide, Nobunaga told Yasuke to take his head to his son. But the records about Yasuke after the death of Nobunaga are even more scarce than the ones about him when Nobunaga was alive. According to Professor Gary Leup from Tufts University, Yasuke was taken prisoner by Oda's enemies, but later released because he wasn't Japanese.
After his release, it's possible that he became a ronin, a samurai without a master. According to Lockley, he could have either went back to the Jesuits like nothing happened, or became a pirate, which is hella random. But that is all we know about Yasuke the Black Samurai. Unfortunately, the story is pretty open-ended, but it looks like this Yasuke anime may give us a take on how the story ends.
Yup, which is another reason why I'm hyped for it. But let us know how you feel about Yasuke after getting all that info about him. And also, let us know how you felt about this little history lesson on Japan.
It's always nice to learn about a little bit of history, even if it is vastly scarce, and we don't really know what happened to the guy after everything.
But it's actually nice that I got to learn about the first black samurai. Never knew there was actually a black samurai before.
I've told him, but well, I've tried to get him to watch videos about it, but he wasn't really interested until he found out about this new Yasuke show. So,
If you guys liked the video, please like, subscribe, and share. Bye.